Welcome back to the Fried Eggs podcast. We are so excited to be joined by Sam Diamond today from Bird&Be. Do you call yourself a prenatal or just
Hmm.
I know you offer so much more than prenatals, but I feel like that's what you're most known for online and in social media. So how would you like us to introduce you? Bird&Be is a
Reproductive health brand supporting males and females all the way through their fertility and pregnancy journey.
incredible. I love it. Yes, we are so excited to have you here on the podcast today to talk about Bird&Be, to talk about fertility care, to talk about loss, and to talk about PCOS, which is now PMOS. So it feels like a really amazing time to have you on to speak about this topic as it was just renamed. And so we'd love to just kind of start by opening up the floor and having you share your story with our listeners. I know that this is a very personal brand for you. It comes from a very personal place. And as much as you'd like to share about your story and your fertility journey, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, well, it all started in my early 20s. I was dating my now husband, who was in his OBGYN residency. And
Awesome.
I went off the birth control pill just because I had been on it for so long. I didn't know what my life looked like without it. Came off and, within, a month or 2, stopped getting my period, got crazy cystic acne all over my body really, as well as all over my face, and my husband or boyfriend at the time said, "I bet you have PCOS," which is now being renamed to PMOS. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Well, what is that?" And that started me down this journey of then going and getting into care and actually receiving the kind of care that would have been otherwise probably not even investigated for years and years and years. So I felt like, and I've always felt like I have an unfair advantage at home. I have a
Mm,
doctor in my pocket. And we made so many decisions about how we were going to grow our family based on having access to this information early. And so that was
mhm.
my first exposure to reproductive health. And it was honestly years and years before anyone in my network had any kind of interaction with their reproductive health outside of going on
Mm.
pills.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And then, fast forward, I was growing my PR and marketing agency in my work life. We were continuing to grow our family, and that's when I experienced pregnancy loss. And
Mm,
although, again, I had someone in my home who had all of the information and I knew the statistics. I knew
mhm.
how common pregnancy loss was. I knew the risks as I was getting, older into my 30s. I understood this, but it's not the same as when you actually experience it. You're never prepared necessarily for how that's actually going to feel and what's actually going to happen. And so we went through this loss and subsequently a lot of challenges trying to get pregnant again. And it was at that point that I was introduced to naturopathic care. And this was just eye opening for me because no one had ever talked about the lifestyle element of what's required to actually optimize your body for pregnancy. And
Mm,
also, no one had ever addressed the fact that we need to talk about not just the female preparing, but also the male. And so I was blown away, and it was also overwhelming and confusing because you leave the naturopathic doctor's office with, 16 bottles of supplements and a whole care plan. And the science is fascinating, but it is also incredibly confusing for somebody who's never really interacted with this area of medicine. And I realized that in my work life, I was working in PR and marketing for beauty brands. And I was able to communicate very easily for consumers their 12-step skincare routine, and they can navigate an Ulta Beauty or a Sephora. But somehow we weren't able to do this for our own reproductive health in our bodies. I barely
mm.
knew or understood ovulation tracking. And so that was the point where I said, if we can do this for other industries, of course we can do the same thing through building really incredible customer experience forward product paired with easy to understand education. Of course we can do that for reproductive health. And that's what we did.
Incredible. Yes, that's amazing. And I love how how you brought up the male side of the equation, because I think that is something that is being talked about more often now, but is all like still often overlooked or is an
Mhm.
afterthought when it comes to fertility care. And then also it feels like it becomes a part of the conversation once there's a problem. So it's like, not when you first start trying to get pregnant or just reproductive health care in general, it only becomes part of the conversation when it's like, we've been trying, it's not working. I'm now going and getting care. And oh, also, by the way, we should probably have you start taking some supplements or have you start getting some testing done. And so I love that you're bringing that into the early stages and making it part of the conversation and trying to change that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is about the packaging and how thoughtful and like warm Bird&Be feels as a brand. For listeners who may be unfamiliar, one of the products that you offer are LH strips for tracking ovulation as well as pregnancy tests. And pregnancy tests are very sensitive if you are going through infertility and if you're going through fertility treatments. And so, can you tell us a little bit more about how you wanted to make this brand feel emotionally supportive, especially for some of these products that might feel a little bit more triggering?
Totally. Well, these are pregnancy tests, and these are sensitive tests, as you mentioned, but packaged sensitively or with
Mm.
sensitivity. When I was going through my own journey, and this was the same scenario that my co-founder went through, that really that really everyone on our team went through, which was having a countertop full of products with images that either make you feel the additional layer of pressure, like other people are getting pregnant and I am not, and how many boxes of pregnancy tests have a baby on the front or a
Mhm.
belly on the front. I even had boxes of ovulation tests with a woman who was pregnant, and I was like, well, that doesn't even make sense.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're pregnant. So that's
Seriously.
necessary. And, you know, even for anybody who's not gone through loss, sometimes also folks want discreet packaging in their home as well. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of scenarios where having, really graphic images that someone might not feel that their journey is represented in does a disservice to the customer. And I think it's really, a, you know, a meaningful and easy step to walk back a bit and recognize that you can still have a beautiful product that fits into somebody's, bathroom or their bathroom counter during this process that doesn't necessarily cause them any additional stress or pressure.
Wow.
I
Wow.
love that.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, you saying that, I've never really thought about it, but now you say it, I'm like, absolutely. Every time I look at that package, there's babies on it.
Yeah.
And what does that do to your psyche every time you're being reminded? You're constantly being reminded. It means, women making amazing products for other women because we understand. So it's incredible.
We do understand.
Before we get into the conversation about PCOS, which is now PMOS, I'm still figuring out like how do I want to use PMOS, but I also like people are just learning this. I was thinking about that with the episode title of like, what do we start using PMOS now, or are people
Mhm.
still searching PCOS? But I want to ask too about the formulas for Bird&Be and how, this is a very saturated market, and there are a lot of brands popping up all around. I know you all are D2C. Are you currently available in any stores?
We are. We are now
Nice.
available in Ulta Beauty across
Okay,
1,000 stores. And
amazing.
we're also available in fertility clinics.
Yeah.
And so we're
Wow.
in the place where folks are coming on sometimes the most difficult part of their journey. And those
Mhm.
doctors know that our products are the ones that are going to be the most supportive and adhere to their guidelines as well.
Yeah, and so that feels like a huge endorsement in and of itself to, I'm gonna take the prenatal that my clinic recommends. I'm gonna trust that that's the best option for me. So can you tell us a little bit about how Bird&Be is different in terms of formulation, how you all stand out in a market where there are so many options when it comes to choosing supplements?
Yeah. Well, I would say that there's not many options that combine everything you need in one go like this.
Mhm.
There are options where you still have to DIY your fertility routine, and you're ending up with usually double the amount of capsules. And
Mhm.
at the very least, it's double the cost. And it also takes you the equivalent of a second full time job to actually kind of gather all of the things that you need. And then the research associated with that can add pressure. We've done the research for all of our customers already, and we've done that with fertility doctors. So the way that these products are formulated is our fertility medical team, the doctors and the fertility naturopaths, they came together. They took their own clinical experience mixed with deep clinical research into what are the ingredients that have proven data across the fertility industry to work, not just animal studies, like what has happened in IVF
Mm.
scenarios. And they
Mm.
have also correlated the guidelines of both governmental guidelines. In Canada, we have Health Canada. You all have the CDC and the FDA, and then the guidelines across medical colleges, ACOG, SOGC, CFAS, and we have combined all of that into what what a formulation should be, which is at a level that is considered therapeutic, that makes an actual impact on health outcomes, and that at the same time is also easy to take and palatable because the best
Mhm.
prenatal is the one you're going to take.
Mhm.
So we have to
Mhm.
combine what all the doctors wish their patients had with also what is the patient actually going to take.
Right.
Yeah, and so I will repeat that for listeners because, as all of us know, is we have handfuls of supplements that we're just, like, trying to stomach during this journey, and Amy has, like, a full basket with it's just, like, all the different things,
Mhm.
and they're from all these different brands and what price shopping and ingredient shopping, and so one of the things
Mhm.
that I've appreciated about Bird&Be is it does simplify all of that, and it's so easy to take. I mean, it just feels good opening it. Like, it feels I love that your background is in skincare because and beauty because it feels like a self-care routine. It feels like opening
Mm.
up your favorite product and doing something that feels good instead of, like, twisting the caps off of all of these massive bottles,
My
so,
gosh. And
anyway.
then you end up getting, like, carpal tunnel, like, it
Yes,
hurts
Yeah.
actually, the amount of bottles because
physical.
what you said yeah, what you said, Sam, about, like, the therapeutic dose, that's something I learned along the way as well, and, Katie and I both go to have acupuncture support as well in our journeys, and so then, they also add things to our protocols and I just the amount of bottles that you had to open and then the amount of kind of chemistry, and reading the backs of things and as they change their formula, then you're getting too little of one thing or too much of something, and trying to like rebalance. And so I think, yeah, it's so helpful to have it all just simplified
Mm.
and the therapeutic dose being like top of mind. If we just go to like a not to not to rag on like, drugstore brands, but like you have to be so mindful of like, am I getting the full amount? Like it's not just I got into a funny argument with my husband where he he was like taking his prenatal like the male prenatal pill and he was like, "Wait, I'm supposed to take 3 of these?" I was like, "How many have you been taking?"
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
taking
So
like
we
1 or
we
2
want to
at a
make it
time.
super easy. And then the
Yeah.
other piece to that is like, how do you know if it's working?
Mm.
And so
Mhm.
that's the other piece that we wanted to help our customers kind of understand and feel really good about. And so we're still a young company, but we've managed to do 3 clinical studies so far
Wow.
that have actually shown impact. So not just, the studies related to the ingredients that go in, not just the studies that show, oh, I'm absorbing this nutrient, like great that your iron went up versus the placebo controlled group that didn't take iron. Obviously, your iron's going to go up. That's great. It shows that there's iron in the product and that we're absorbing it. We've taken it to the next level. The so what? What is the
Yeah.
impact? What has the product done for
Mm.
biomarkers? And so we were able to do that first with our male products, where we partnered with a fertility clinic. We identified male factor infertility patients. They did a semen analysis, took our male power packs for 3 months, repeat semen analysis, and we saw their progressive sperm motility go up by 52%. That's statistically significant.
Incredible.
And
Incredible.
we are actually able to show the outcome data.
Which is
Wow.
huge because when you're spending money on something in an already very expensive, fertility care in the United States is just the costs are so impossible. And so to invest in this additional thing, to be able to see that payoff and to see this is actually working and this is an important part of my care
Mhm.
is huge because, yeah, we're not getting that from other brands. So,
I'm curious, what was the drive to put it in Ulta? I have an inkling maybe why. To hear what you guys thought about when you thought, "Oh, Ulta's a good place for this."
Ulta Beauty came to us,
Wow.
and
oh,
they came to us saying we're expanding our wellness footprint and we want to service our customers from first period to last. And so we were the fertility brand of choice. Again, a lot of it was driven by our clinical success and actually having doctors stand by the brand as well. And we were the only fertility brand in there. And they agreed to merchandise our male and female product together. And this is
Amazing.
extraordinary. Ulta is an incredible destination for wellness for women, but I believe that male fertility is a feminist issue. Male
Mhm.
the only disease where if what the male who has it, they have to do IVF, it is the female who is treated. She has to go through the entire treatment, a disease that somebody else is suffering from. And
Mhm.
yeah.
we do nothing for the men. The burden stays exclusively on the female. And so Alta partnered with us in that mission. This is a step forward for being proactive about reproductive care, but we are caring for women as well as men as part of
Mhm.
this conversation. And we're making proactive fertility care mainstream. And
Yes.
that is the beauty of Alta Beauty.
Yeah. I was thinking putting it in a place that feels so normal, natural, where I'm going
Mhm.
anyway, not clinical, a part of my routine, a part of when I get my skincare, when I get my tinted moisturizer, I'm also caring for my body and my fertility. It feels like a really amazing natural partnership. And something I wanted to dig in on too with the male factor side or just the men's fertility in general. It's interesting that we're having this conversation now and I am seeing you lean so heavily that way and I love that. Um I just had a chat with our embryologist and she was telling us about her story and um her husband has severe male factor infertility. And what she said to me was, men have no fertility care actually in their life until,
Until there's a problem.
reproduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, until there's a problem. And then usually it's a very much of an afterthought. And so I love what you're doing to kind of bridge that gap and try to bring them in sooner. Is that something, it sounds like that's something top of mind for the brand too, is how to make this more everyday, proactive, as you said. How do you think about that?
Well, our reproductive health is like your fifth vital sign, right? If there's something going on with your menstrual cycle or there is something happening with your sperm quality, something else is usually happening in your body that needs some attention. And so we
Mhm.
should be learning as early as possible to use those signals to help us care for our whole selves. And what I love about social media, because sometimes there's some not great things happening there, but what I love about it is that more and more medical doctors have taken to their own social media to counteract all of the misinformation out there. And I saw a post from one of the doctors we work with this morning who was talking about like what is a normal period, and if you have
Mm,
pain with your period that is preventing you from doing something in your life, like if you have the kind of pain where you're staying home one day a month, or you're feeling it impedes your function, that
mhm,
is not normal. Like no gaslighting. That is not normal, and doctors can help, but we have to know to go to the doctor to get that help.
mhm,
And we need
mhm,
that wider education, and we need to to teach women and to teach men that there are tests that you can do at home as early as you want. You don't have to be trying to conceive to really get a sense if something is up with,
mhm.
you know, your reproductive health.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're very interested in and love that some of our favorite doctors are actually speaking out about this kind of stuff, and it's a perfect segue to we want to talk about PCOS, now PMOS, with you, especially because it's still so underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, and this is a perfect segue to this. And part of that is, we just don't know what's normal, and it's so taboo to talk about these things, to talk about like what's going on in our bodies, especially for around fertility. But I have two questions to start with around this big rebrand of PMOS, and I'm very curious to get your thoughts. First, why is a renaming so important here? What does that do for us? Is it, it's very exciting. We're seeing a lot about it. It's certainly uh, swirling around our social media and right, and it's getting into the news cycles. But underneath, kind of the buzz, why is this important? What does it do for us? What does it drive?
All right, so many answers here, but let's start with the renaming. So PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, has been renamed to PMOS, polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome. And the
Mhm.
key here is that we're now talking about ovaries and our metabolic health, as opposed to talking about cysts on our ovaries. And all doctors used to say like that PCO or PCOS is a misnomer because these aren't actual cysts. These are follicles that your eggs are growing in. And it just means that one of the symptoms was you had a lot of underdeveloped follicle. But that meant the focus was also on that symptom and not
Mhm.
necessarily on what happens when you have PCOS or PMOS, which is it really is a metabolic disorder. And a lot of what folks suffer from with this syndrome is actually insulin resistance. And that insulin resistance, or what impacts their glucose metabolism, that is the cause of so many other of the ripple effects that are happening in your body, like elevated male androgens, which end up causing acne, hair growth, hair loss, issues with weight, issues with mood,
Mhm.
with your ovulation. And so it is a syndrome that does deeply involve your metabolic health. But it is endocrinology. It is related to the way that your hormones are operating through your body. And so, why is this so important? Well, first of all, amazing that all of us PCOS or PMOS girls are in the news now. Um,
Yeah.
what we do know is that more and more people are becoming aware that this is an issue, which is helpful for identifying these symptoms early on and helping women avoid suffering from some of these symptoms for so long before they find care. It's a very long process, usually for diagnosis. Again, not everybody is a doctor, OBGYN living with them in their home. And so it takes a while for them to figure out what's going on. We also know that 70% of women with PMOS are undiagnosed.
Wow.
So we still have a lot of work to do related to
Mhm.
getting women up to speed about these symptoms and actually getting them into their doctor. And so when we think about the renaming, it's great that it's being renamed because we're actually thinking about what's happening in our biology, and we're maybe focusing a little bit more on some of the other symptoms that this syndrome involves. But we still have a huge population that doesn't even know what to look for. And so I think it's going to take time for a real shift from PCOS to PMOS. Regardless, it's great that we're talking about it more. The renaming probably will be gradual because it's taken us quite a long time to get even here.
Right. Right. And you started to touch on this, but I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about what needs to change in the medical conversation uh, to identify and treat people and women, more accurately, maybe with this disease, and aside to that, like how do women need to be taught to advocate for themselves in this space? Like it's still such a hidden disease. I mean, that stat is insane.
Endometriosis is similar where it's
Right.
taking
I was thinking
average of
about that.
7 years to get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And so I think that for one thing, women, when they go to see a doctor about a symptom or something that's happening in their body that doesn't feel right, most doctors are amazing and will not dismiss you. They will send you for additional testing or to a specialist. But unfortunately, there are cases where women do feel dismissed, and you can't stop there because there is no one coming to save you. And so we
Mm.
have to engineer our own care pathway, unfortunately, but this is just the way it is. And so if something is wrong in your body, you need to go and get a second opinion and a third opinion if that is what is required, because we know
Mhm.
our bodies best. And the symptoms that are preventing us from functioning are not normal. None of them are normal. And so
Mhm.
there is going to be care. And sometimes it's not always a cure, but sometimes it's management, pain management, care management. But there is care to be found.
Wow. Yeah, and you brought up endometriosis. I have that as well. And I think we're starting to learn, right, that it's not just a gynecological disease, right? It's a whole body disease. And you mentioned, if your cycles aren't normal or what is normal, those are signs of your overall health and potentially other things going on. And so I love that it is really empowering or hopeful that we're starting to even just calling it the metabolic piece, putting the metabolic piece into the name implies that there is more happening than just, looking at your ovaries. And so I'm curious if we could get into a little bit, because I think this will be interesting for people. What are a little bit more detailed around what are those symptoms? You touched on a few of them, or experiences that women may be dismissing that you understand, like we sort of just accept as the reality of a painful period or of other things going on, that we may be overlooking that actually may be signs of a deeper hormonal imbalance and something we should be paying attention to.
We always want to start with our cycle. And one of the most common reasons that people struggle with fertility is irregular menstrual cycles
Hmm.
or absence of a menstrual cycle. And so that's the number one thing. Are you tracking your cycle? And don't just track your cycle with an app,
Mm.
because we are not robots. We are women and things change month to month. So an app is a great addition to a care plan, an ongoing care plan, so that you know when things are happening and when things are expected to come and when things are off. But you need to add OPKs, you need to add your ovulation test strips into that
Hmm.
care for yourself, because you actually want to see, I want to see on my little strip that my LH has surged. And I want to tie that to the time of the month where I'm getting my period. I want to make sure that the window between the actual LH surge and my period is not too short, because
Hmm.
that also can cause issues with fertility. And that also is a reason that you might see your doctor for additional hormone support. So we want to pay attention to our menstrual cycles. We want to make sure they're not too short, and we want to make sure they're not too long, because there's issues on both ends. But for PMOS or PCOS, the very long cycles or very irregular cycles is definitely one of the signs and symptoms of
Hmm.
something happening in your body. The other unfortunate symptom, which I mentioned, is you can get cystic acne. And
Hmm.
often that is tied to an elevation of your male hormones or high androgens. And I experienced it all over my jaw, my neck, and then I remember I had
Mm,
it down my back and my
yeah.
chest. Well, so that was actually very quickly resolved once I went back on the birth control pill for my immediate kind of care plan to sort of calm down a lot of those hormones. But
Mhm.
that's common. And then we also experience additional hair growth, sometimes facial hair. Some women
Mhm.
experience on their chin, above their lip, on their cheeks. And sometimes it's the kind of hair growth that even laser hair removal struggles to really impede. And that can
Mm.
be traumatizing and very upsetting for women. And sometimes it's the opposite and it's male pattern hair loss. We
Wow.
sometimes luck out with both sets of symptoms, but
Yeah.
women struggling with PMOS do have that hair loss component as well. That was also me. And so
Mm.
these are the fun symptoms that as
Yeah.
women you should 100% be looking out for. And then of course when you go in to get checked and to get care and you do blood work, they're also probably going to do a transvaginal ultrasound and they're going to look at your ovaries and they're going to see are there tons and tons of little undeveloped follicles in there? And that is another sign that you may be struggling with PMOS.
Mm. Did you, I think you mentioned, apologies if I got this wrong. Um, you have children now. Is that
Have
right?
3 children now.
3 children. Wow. That's incredible. Did you have any challenges as you were having them navigating PMOS, PCOS, through pregnancy or in trying? I mean, obviously we talked about your I'm so sorry about your miscarriage and as well. Did you find was that kind of a part of this process or what did you learn through that?
Well, for me, one of the symptoms that I first had to kind of navigate was lack of a menstrual cycle. So
Right,
when I
right.
come off the birth control pill, I might ovulate once and then that was it. And so at first I was taking medication, letrozole, in order to help me
Mm.
ovulate. And then the later challenges also came with like continuously kind of changing the letrozole dose because sometimes it would result in 2 eggs. Um, and
Oh, wow.
and you don't also, having twins sometimes on purpose. It is a higher risk pregnancy, and that wasn't something that we were prepared to do on purpose.
Mhm.
And so that would result in, skipped cycles or what have you. So really navigating that dose level. And then of course, as you're taking medication and navigating this, like some of the symptoms do come back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that was before the times when I had discovered my inositol. I am now, as a result of this entire process and through working with the naturopathic doctors, we had actually one of the early product journeys we went on at Bird&Be was developing our inositol cycle support product. I am now
Mm.
taking it's at a therapeutic dose. I'm taking our inositol every single day. I am no longer on any ovulation induction medication, and I have a regular cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
That's incredible.
that's
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 an
huge.
endorsement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, I guess transitioning back to some of the Bird and Bee products, I wanted to ask you, maybe this is the answer, but what are some of the offerings that you all have that you feel are you want more people to know about that might get a little overlooked or buried in some of the more like funner products?
Well, one of my favorites is our Power Play lube. So
Oh, I
Oh.
don't think I knew about that.
We're both like, what?"
I really do. Many people don't realize that standard lubricant can harm sperm, and even saliva can harm sperm.
Huh.
I
And
did know
so
that.
when
Yes.
we're trying to conceive, there's an opportunity to optimize what you can. And this is one of the areas where you can optimize what you can. We love this product because also when you go to the store to buy a sperm friendly lubricant, there's like one option.
Mhm.
It's a
I
big
have it in my
baby.
side table.
It says on the package, not
Yep.
sexy,
Not sexy.
and often it comes with applicators.
The worst.
And, like, that's really clinical for a moment that perhaps you don't wanna bring the clinic into your bedroom, and we know that
Mhm.
the trying to conceive journey it becomes very clinical. It becomes very not sexy. Often couples struggle with sex at some point through their journey because it is so stressful, and so we just wanted to bring a little bit of fun back into this piece. So, there's no babies on the package. It
Yeah,
is
it's very I don't know, I'll drop an image here so people can
yeah,
see, but,
it's
yes,
sneaky.
it's
It is also water-based, and so it doesn't
okay,
stain, which we
great.
love.
Right. We
Yep,
love that.
we
Easy
love
to get off. Well,
in more ways
Okay.
than one.
sorry, I couldn't. It just happened. Katie, it
Episode
just
is now an
happened. I'm
explicit
so
episode.
sorry.
I love it.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're so right. Ooh,
This
thank
is
you for
rated R.
making that. Yeah. Uh, I will be looking for that. Okay, moving on.
I guess kind of wrapping up here and really just, like, bringing this full circle. What are you what are your hopes for Bird&Be? Like, what is in the future for the company, but also, like, really, what is the legacy that you're hoping to leave um, in reproductive health, but also just in, like, health in general and wellness and yeah, what is the mission and the thing that gets you up every day and keeps you going?
Well, I think for the company, what I want for us is that for anyone who is thinking about having a baby, that they think about Bird&Be. I want us to be
Mm.
synonymous with preconception, trying to conceive, and taking folks all the way through this, you know, winding journey, through all the ups, downs, and backgrounds. And
Mm.
I want to be with families as they grow. And from a legacy and industry and really a public health perspective, firstly, I think we are already a big part of shifting this conversation to include both male and
Yeah.
female. We
Yeah.
know how important it is. We know that every year new research comes about because this field is so new. And we now know that male health at the time of conception impacts the baby's health and chances of many different diseases. And so it's not just about one great sperm test, it's about maintaining health, female
Mhm.
and male, all as early as possible, and that's kind of the second piece. This needs to shift into a fully proactive mission. We cannot be reactively responding to not being able to conceive after a year as the point in time where you start thinking about optimizing your reproductive health and overall health. This is a conversation that should be happening with young men and women in their
Mhm.
early 20s as we start thinking about growing into very healthy adults that are going to grow families one day. And so I think in healthcare in general, the the winds are shifting that way, but reproductive health in itself needs to be a very proactive focus.
Yeah.
Can you imagine men of reproductive age, like, taking a fertility like, I love this future, this, like,
Yeah.
idea of the men of our sons taking
Mhm.
care of their fertility in their early 20s. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and getting more like connecting the dots for people that your reproductive health is actually so integrated with your overall health.
overall health.
And I think
Yes,
it's a beautiful vision that, fertility is such an afterthought right now. So it's a beautiful vision to think about fertility being actually just a part of your life, whether or not you want to have a baby in that moment or
exactly.
ever. Or
Mhm.
ever, right? But yes, the fifth vital sign, understanding your body, optimizing for your body. I mean, man, okay, so what is the male equivalent of Ulta? Is it gyms? Like
I know,
you
I'm,
need to
like,
be
thinking, like,
there?
GNC,
Yeah.
but I think that's, like, a little maybe, like,
That's a little
our
old
generation, yeah.
school. Yeah. It's like needs to be in like hot yoga places and like
Right.
yes, I'm sure you're already working on that.
Well, if you or any of the listeners have any ideas or you want us in your spaces, you got to let us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 1000%.
We're going to wrap up with some rapid fire questions. Where can listeners find you? Where can they find Bird&Be? You already noted Ulta. You're also D&C. But where can they just like learn more too? And like these studies that you talked about, are they available on the website for people to read and look at?
Yes. So our website has a incredible database of scientific information that is translated for the everyday person. And
Amazing.
everything on our website was written by, verified by doctors. And so what you are getting
Great.
is the accurate evidence-based information that you need to make informed decisions. So on our blog, on our website, The Nest, you can search by
Cute.
any topic within the reproductive health realm and you will find guidance. We are also always available through our customer care team, and you can reach us through our website. So at birdandbe.com, birdandbe.com. And you can find us on TikTok and Instagram. We do AMAs with our doctors once a week. And so you can pop on and ask as many questions as you'd like. And we find our communities love that. They love hearing from the doctors. We're also now doing monthly Zooms for our subscribers with our doctors. And so they're coming
Cool.
on and they're asking questions and they're getting kind of reproductive health presentations. And every month we kind of shift topics, but that's an amazing resource too. And of course, you can find us on our website through subscriptions. We have some great bundles for folks who are planning for different stages of their journey. You can find us at
Mhm.
Beauty. You can find us on Amazon, and
Thanks.
you can find us at fertility clinics as
It's
well.
amazing.
And they also have prenatal gummies, which I think we should shout out
Oh,
because I think for anyone who is on the other side of fertility treatments or IVF and you're sick of taking supplements or you're dealing with just nausea and not being able to stomach pills, they have gummy prenatals as well, which I think is great. And then, Sam, I did want to, because our listenership is international and you are a Canadian company, right? Like you would call yourself a Canadian company first. Yeah. Um, are, I guess, what is the question that I'm trying to ask here? I think that's just important to note because there are so many brands that maybe people are seeing that are only available in the United States, but you guys are available in Canada as well. And that is where your headquarters are. And so for any of our listeners who are in Canada,
mhm.
this is a great option for you.
Yes, and being Canadian has other perks too because we have quite a high bar when it comes to what's allowed to be
Yeah.
sold on the market. And
Mhm.
so we adhere to the Health Canada guidelines and we are licensed. We actually have product licenses. You can't sell one in Canada without a product license.
Wow.
Yes.
That's very different than our
Yeah. We
supplement
won't
industry. We won't maybe
We
go
won't
in
get into
there.
the politics of US supplements, but it is very, comforting to
Mhm.
hear that. So,
Mhm. Also, I'm thinking of, Katie, there's like a cute crossover here with Bird and Bee, The Nest, and fried eggs. I mean, hi? Did we not think
it's
about that
very
before?
that's very cute.
It's
I love
very
it.
cute. All right. So for some rapid fire questions, I'm going to ask you the first one. Um, what is your favorite part of running a business?
Okay, so my favorite part was actually experienced today. And it is often either customer successes or customer reactions. And so we just ran a fertility fund giveaway. We run it annually where we are able to partner with like minded brands and offer a gift to somebody who is going through their fertility journey. So this year we were
Mm,
able to identify two winners and each receive $3,500 towards their fertility journey. And
wow.
my co-founder, Brianna, and I actually got to call our two winners today. We FaceTimed them and we shared the news that they were the winners and they were both in tears. And then we were in tears. And it was just, I mean, it was the moment that, like, it's everything crystallizing at once. Like, we have been able to provide through building this business, we've been able to provide somebody with something that is so
Real.
meaningful that may have otherwise been out of reach for them. And,
Wow.
you know, it was very beautiful and there was a lot of tears.
That's
Oh.
so special and meaningful. Like, what a, yeah, wow. That's, oh, okay. I love that.
Yeah.
um, what is your favorite way to unwind at the end of the day? Which is a great question for right now, since we're wrapping up Friday, heading into the weekend. How do you unplug?
At the end of the day, if I'm not doing what I tell everyone not to do, which is work in bed,
Oh. Mhm.
do that.
Been there.
I am actually like the biggest fan of a good bed rot. Where
Love it.
get into bed in the dark, turn on just the most mindless TV
Hmm.
and literally just rot in bed until you
Just
fall.
like brain off. Yeah.
I actually usually do that first thing on a weekend morning where everyone in my house knows that this is like my hour of
Yeah.
just like, don't come in here. I'm just gonna lie here and I'm gonna ease into the day very, very, very slowly. So like
Mhm.
a solid bed rot, I highly recommend.
It's
Do you
like the
have a
new
specific, oh, go
oh,
ahead, Amy.
I wanna just funny, it made me think of it's like the new cartoon Saturday, you know?
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have
Is
to
there
bed. I just
a
lied.
specific show or does it matter?
Amazing.
It usually needs to be something that requires no brain cells to
Okay.
watch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I actually don't watch a lot of reality TV.
Okay.
Whole team, they have like these Slack channels about all the reality TV shows, and I never know what they're talking about. So I probably should get onto that train. But I am watching more of like, I don't know, the Virgin Rivers and the Bridgerton,
Oh,
the things that are
Yes.
just
yeah.
fantasy stories
Yeah.
that don't require me to deeply engage.
Mhm. Yeah.
I no longer read books, I listen to them.
Great.
I'm in a book club and I audiobook everything. And so
Great.
I have an assignment every month. And what I like to read, actually, I usually am reading 2 books at a time. You've got like the daytime book, which I have playing in my car or on a walk or
Mhm.
like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, which is usually the book club book. And then I have my nighttime. I have an Ellen Hilderbrand obsession for my nighttime books, which is like
Ah.
the ones I will listen to fall asleep, or if I happen to
Mhm.
wake up in the middle of the night, what I'll listen to fall back asleep. And they're usually beach reads, just pure.
Wait, that is so smart for like insomnia. I've never really thought about that, like having an audiobook that I can just plug in and listen to fall back
Me
asleep.
helps me fall back asleep. So I'm currently
Yeah.
reading Yesteryear for book club.
Oh, that
Yes.
feels
Okay.
that feels a little intense, that one. Maybe more
It
intense than your
is
casual beach read.
it is more intense than the beach read, but it's one of the first books I've read in a while that actually has kept my attention. I'm
Huh.
really enjoying it.
It's not helping you
Great.
fall asleep because you wanna get through it.
Not helping me fall asleep. I'm with my Nantucket book series
Love it.
for
For
fall.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, okay.
Amazing.
Well, last question, when you're at the store picking up a treat for yourself, what are you buying?
Well, usually a treat for myself is related to skincare. It's a lot of my first skincare rec, which is also a treat, is to get consistent facials. And so I have, since I was pregnant with my second son, which resulted in solid full body acne, was a
Mm,
consistent facial every few weeks with extractions. And so
mhm,
the extractions actually help prevent a lot of the buildup and the acne from coming back. So I'm very religious about my facials. It's booked into my calendar, and
nice.
I have never missed an appointment in 10 years.
Wow. Okay, that's an endorsement for facials.
Yeah, I
Let's do
just
it.
started on the facial, like, like implementing them into my regular, like I'm trying to do them like every 6 weeks right now, and it's life-changing. I recommend it.
Great. So
Amazing.
that would be a treat.
Okay. I love
Yeah,
that.
that's a
Yeah.
good one. We're always about getting ourselves a treat over here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't
Yes,
forget
Everything we go
always.
through, we deserve it. Yeah.
to deserve it.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for this conversation. We are so excited to share this with listeners. This will be our first episode where we really talk about PCOS, PMOS, but we're also just excited to shed some light on Bird&Be. I'm guessing most of them are familiar. You have a great
Mhm.
social presence, and so I know that a lot of people are already familiar with you all. But I think hearing the backstory, really understanding the science behind the brand, and also the personal story behind it and what you all are doing and what you're trying to create, I think will just resonate and be such a great listen for them. So thank you for coming on and for your time. And yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing what you're doing because I'm sure your community is equally grateful to have this conversation be out there and have this as a resource.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much. This is a pleasure, and for bringing all of the information too is so informative and fun. So thank you so much, Sam.
Anytime.
Maybe if I start looking